next thing you know, you're an adult, and it's like, okay, what's my morals and ethics? What's my principles going to be like? You know, so, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to break those.
It really is.
You know, so.
Find you a group of men that'll tell you the truth and not what you want to hear either.
Yes, sir.
Because if he's just going to come in there and agree with everything you're saying and stroke your egos, you ain't getting anywhere with that. But somebody will sit down and face you and tell you the truth, even if it hurts your feelings or y'all have a falling out and y'all make up later.
Yep.
You need to find friends and people you can lean on like that.
Yeah, even if you see some of your older guys today and you talk to them, they could be hurting and still you can see that, and they try to be resistant in what they say because what they're saying and what they're looking is not the same thing. And so they're still trying to live to that facade of I'm not hurting, I'm not this, I'm not that. But in reality, they are.
Right.
They're broken.
Right.
They're messed up. They're hurting.
And so my first experience in mainland U.S. was, boot camp. So it was definitely a culture shock, like in every aspect, especially just getting to boot camp, and
You spoke English?
I spoke English. Yes.
Here's the story behind that.
What's going on, y'all? Shimi Dub, Saturday Who Podcast. Got a very special episode here. Today we are located in the Vine Church in Leesburg, Georgia. My church, a church that I've called home for the last year. We are with the one and only Pastor J, Pastor Jamie here, my brother Scott, big brother Scott, and big brother Lance. And we wanted to get together and kind of talk about, men's mental health, being fathers and leaders of our communities, and, just get together, touch base, and deliver that knowledge. Y'all know how Saturday Who is and what Saturday Who does. We get out there, we motivate people, but we wanted to do something a little bit different today because it's not just about having different careers and bringing in millions of dollars. It's really about your intangible impact on the people that you're around, your family, your friends, and the people you go to work and see every day. So I'm gonna let the gentlemen go through and introduce themselves, talk a little bit about themselves, where they're from, profession, and their family, how their family structure looks. Pastor Jamie, you wanna?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Hey, my name is Jamie Baggett. I pastor a church here at the Vine, as you know, but I also have my wife that leads praise and worship here, Brandy Baggett. My two daughters are active in ministry as well. Jalen runs the sound and the media for us. And also my youngest daughter, Braylee, plays the keyboard and does the youth for us on Wednesday nights. So our family is just really impacted in the ministry, and we do a lot of things for the ministry, and we're just glad that we're able to serve the people.
Scott Weekly, born and raised here in the South. If you can't recognize my accent, it's kind of different, but I attend the Vine Church, been here almost 8 years. My daughter got me here, thank the Lord. She sings on the praise team. I have a son. He comes to church when he's here. He's working in Colorado now, but anything Brother Jamie asks, I do pretty much. Take the offering, open Wednesday night service, men's fellowship vice president, and I lead a Bible study, which is growing, thank the Lord, and just a worker in the church. Anytime the door is open, we need something done, I'm here. I try to be here, and just owe it all to Brother Jamie.
Brother Lance.
So I'm Lance Euro. I have 4 kids. They're also part of the church as well. I have a daughter who sings on the praise team, and then I have another one that plays the keyboard.
She plays about 6 instruments.
Pretty much.
She's good,
Yeah.
talented.
And then I pretend to play the bass
Yeah.
for the church.
He just uses his lips sometimes. He's like, boom, boom.
And so I'm from a tiny little island in Micronesia. It's called Chuuk. It's kind of like a third world country. You have naked kids running around. You fish for your own food, and pretty much out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, sir. Now I got a question for you,
Yes,
Pastor
sir.
Jamie. Now, like he said, the whole family basically runs the church. How did that come about? Did you just, because I try to get all my kids into music, and I can't just say, hey, we all into music today.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like that you're the first family I've ran into where everyone, y'all on one accord.
Right.
You know, everybody loves God. Everybody knows that there's a mission. Like y'all, the family is on the same mission, not just dad, not just mom.
Right. Well, I know that it probably takes a lot of prayer, a lot of stability, a lot of your kids seeing that you're real. You know, not just living the godly lifestyle at church, but also living it in the home, seeing how you work through difficult problems, you know, letting your children learn how to express themselves and say what they need to say,
Right.
And what they're feeling in the moment. Not trying to shelter them or just because they're my kids, they don't get special attention at this church. If anything, they get the last part of it. And so, but they've actually, you know, as they got into their teenage years, and Jalen began to be involved in the drama team, and Brayley just absolutely had a love for music, and that just incorporated, man, you know. Even when they were playing softball, as you know, not just myself, but their mom, we always prayed for God to use them, and however God chose to use those kids was that was him. But I'm so glad he done it in our ministry. It blesses my life to see him here and be a part of what we're doing. But I guess the bottom line would be, if you really just pray for your kids and let them see that you do make mistakes, and you do run into problems, and you help live that out through and with them. I think that's going to better prepare them for what they see in church also.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think the reason why I asked that question, because I feel like that's kind of like important and pertinent to, I think there's families out there with that struggle. Like, how do you keep, there's probably parents doing what they think is their best, right? I think you highlighted something like just being real.
Yeah.
Like they're little people. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was like, they are going to grow up one day, turn 18, and become adults and have their own lives. Our job is to equip them to be able to go live those lives.
Exactly.
They're not our belongings. Yeah, they're my kids, but they're not my belongings. They are little people that are going to grow up and be big people. And do I want them to go through the same things I went through?
Right.
You know, so I think that was.
And also, Russ, you know, the thing is, we sometimes we don't take the word of God for what it says, and when the Bible tells us to raise a kid in the way it should go, it won't depart from it. I know we always want to take that on a spiritual sense, but make sure you raise your kids the right way, because if you are raising them in an environment they don't need, they're not going to depart from that environment.
Right.
It's important, because it's hard to break away from the lifestyle you live if you've always grown up in it. But thank God that God broke that lifestyle off of me and got me in church and called me into the ministry.
Yes, sir.
And I see a lot of young dads in our church that God is breaking that off of and connecting them back into the ministry.
Yes, sir.
And I see God's hand upon their life and their family now, and I see it slowly transitioning. And it takes time. You can't turn something around in a moment. Sometimes it takes months, it takes years.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that people need to stay on a positive note. You can't change things, but you can start demanding as a parent to make a statement and a stand in your home.
You don't have to be a pastor for your children or your family to be fully involved in the church. You can do it. Just lead them the right way and get them here and get them involved.
Yes, sir.
No matter what their age is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, we almost had a sermon right here. We started snapping bars. And you've been here for 8 years, so you've seen a transition.
Man, I remember I come in, the sanctuary was totally different. We sat on the back row the first 3 weeks, and then I missed a service or 2 Sundays in a row. We had come 3 Sundays in a row, and I missed 2 because of work. And the unique thing is Miss Baggett, Brother Jamie's wife, called me and asked me if they had done something wrong or upset me or somebody in the church, and it was not that at all. Work took me away, and it was just a feeling of home ever since then. And it's just one big family. His daughters are like my daughters now. I love them just like they're my own, and man, it's just one big family here. I love it.
I think you highlighted something important, and being that we're all fathers, I think you highlighted something important when you said your daughter is the reason why you
Mhm.
came to this church. I heard the story before,
Yeah.
but you know, those Saturday Who fans want to hear that story.
We
So-
were searching for a church. We were in and out of churches, and I'd recently got divorced in a single dad life, and just raising my son and daughter the best I knew how. But without church, that wasn't a proper way. And we just happened to be riding down the main street out here, and Maddie said, "Dad, we should go to that church. Miss Baggett's husband preaches there." And I never met Brother Jamie at that time. I'd seen him at the ball field, but I knew Miss Baggett from teaching school and all that, and seeing her at the ball field. And man, like I said, we come in the doors that Sunday, and everybody that greeted us was like family. They just immediately loved on my children.
Yes,
they
sir.
wanted to get to know me, and
Right.
they loved on me, and it was just something different that I'd never experienced in a
Right.
church. And it's just a feel of family
Yes,
the
sir.
minute you walk in the door, and it's just God's present here, and just working within the doors of this place.
Yes, sir. And I think that brings, it speaks what you said, the story of how you got here. It's not just God working through your daughter, but it's just you being able to be a parent that listens.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's it. Like,
I could have turned a deaf ear to it and
Right.
rode on down the road, and
because
never would
how
be
old,
sitting
how old
here
was she at
today.
the time?
She would have been, that was 8 years ago. She probably would have been about 12.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She wasn't even a teenager
Yeah.
yet.
We had learned growing up that children are to be seen and not to be
Mhm.
heard.
Right.
Right. So I think that's especially as a father, you know, we often, you know, we're tired, we're worn out throughout the day. So for you to, it's hard not to turn that ear off, right? And then just being humble enough to understand that baby girl wants better for both of us,
Right.
not just herself. Being 12 years old,
Right.
right? So I think that's a blessing within itself for a 12-year-old to want to go to church, and then two has that relationship that she knows her dad is going to listen to come
Right.
to church. And look how it's changed y'all's life.
It's changed our whole family dynamic. I mean, at the time, she had been through enough, going through her divorce, seeing her mom and dad separate,
Mm-hmm.
living in two different houses, and it was an adjustment for all of us. And
Right.
but man, that was, the one time I listened in life was the best time
Yes, sir.
the best time to choose to listen.
Yes, sir. How do you think going through the divorce and, you know, probably having a co-parent and having a son and a daughter, how do you think that changed you and your identity?
Honestly, it made me a better father, better role model for
Yes, sir.
people. But it wasn't until we got here and come in these doors till I really become the father and the man I am now.
Amen.
I wasn't the best father when they were younger. I wasn't there. I was working all the time, and just wasn't there enough for them. But the minute we walked through those doors, my whole entire life and outlook on things changed, and it's just a lot of credit goes to this guy here. He's pretty special in my life, and taught and led me,
Yes, sir.
and let me make a fool of myself, and let me realize my own mistakes from time to time,
Right.
and pointed them out to me. And then you come back after you do that kind of stuff and sit down and have a conversation. He'll say, "I tried to tell you," but he just cutting up. And like, he should
Yes,
start
sir.
listening to God and quit listening to the world and the flesh and everything else. Because I mean,
Right.
since I've been here, it's not been perfect. I've messed up, made mistakes. You just have to go to the Lord and repent for your mistakes and learn
Yeah.
from them, turn away from it, and run toward God.
Yes, sir. Keep being a student.
Yep.
Iron sharpens iron as well.
That's right.
And just to kind of go back to what Pastor Jamie was talking about being taken out of that environment, I think the reason why our whole family comes to church.
Mhm.
I mean, it started with Emily. She was always involved in her church. I was just kind of like the black sheep.
Yeah.
Um, And then eventually she got me into church. We've been here since October, I think back in 2021.
Yes, sir.
And we were looking for a church as well. And I think Emily reached out to Miss Brandy
Right.
on I think Facebook, looking for a church.
Yep.
And I think it was a perfect timing because she used to do children's ministry back in Okinawa, Japan when we were stationed there.
Yeah.
And I think there was a transition period where one of the children pastor was going to hang it up, and she
Mm-hmm.
came here and we found the church.
Yep.
And we've been here ever since. And I think probably the most important thing is just being a role model for the kids and
Right.
doing the teamwork and the communication
Mm-hmm.
that we're all on the same team. And then, eventually we started involving our kids
Right.
in church. And so that's how we started. And
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a blessing. So my question for you, I almost lost my thought. So it was the wife, she was into the church, and you kind of, probably just supporting her as much as you can. So did you notice a difference in your household when you joined into the church? Was that the change for the girls? And
yes, I wasn't a really great father. Just being deployed and then being a drill instructor, I was never home. I remember I would come home when I think Amara was about a year old.
yes, sir.
No, she was about 3, and Alana was a baby. And I'd come home from work, and all 3 of them were crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't want to live in that environment where I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't provide, and when I say provide, I'm talking about mentally,
Yes, yes,
spiritually.
sir. Yes, sir. It's more than just materials.
I was there, but I wasn't present. And
Right.
so being involved in church has changed a lot of that.
Yep.
Made me a better father, a better person. I still have issues, but just like anybody else, we try to work through it and
Yes, sir.
make progress.
Yes, sir. I think I think you touched on a great point right there. Being providers is not just what we bring to the table. I think y'all older than me, so we grew up in a time where um, dad, he worked, he came home, he slept, and his energy was for work, and he provided. So my grandfather worked in a bakery. He was a baker for 55 years, right? And my grandmother didn't work at all. They had 11 kids. Probably impossible during this time, the economy, right? But they had 11 kids. My grandmother didn't work at all. She stayed home with the kids. I like to say she probably delivered the trauma. But she stayed home with my mother and her brothers and sisters, and my grandfather worked. And when I was a kid, when we would go over to, in the projects in New York, you got the apartments, right? So she had the only like 5-bedroom apartment in her building because they had so many kids. So when I was growing up, my grandmother had one room and my grandfather had his own room. His room we called the toy room. That was because it was all the toys. He would build our toy chest and then we'll be able to put all, but they had 2 separate rooms, and this is what we saw growing up. And it was because of that removal from the home. It was like they weren't going, she had been with him since she was 17, 18. They weren't going to get a divorce, but they weren't going to be together in the same house. So it's kind of like what you bring to the table is more than just bread and water, right? What we bring to the table is growth, is direction.
Exactly.
When I have a similar story, when my wife, she wanted to get back into the church and get back into her relationship with God, and I was like, yeah, I'll go once a month. I'll be there. And then once a month turned into never, right? And then I noticed the change in my household when I started going and I was consistent, and then we moved here and we found the community, and just the vibe and the direction in the household changed, and you start providing much more. And I had this conversation with my brother. Shout out to Jay Waltz. He he was like, we were talking about gifts, and I was like, I'm not as big as I was growing up. My mother used to give us so much gifts. She's a gift giving person. Right. It's her love language, right? Me, I'll give my wife the money and she could go get the gifts, but I'm not too big on gifts outside, because me being in your presence and the conversations we have and the relationship that we have is the gift. You know what I'm saying? So I think you highlight a great point. And when did you did 20 years?
Yes.
You did 20 years in the military, in the Marine Corps, RA. And then when did you come to the States?
So my first experience in the States was, I was 18 at the time. And so I got on a plane on Guam and flew into San Diego for the first time. And so my first experience in mainland U.S. was, boot camp. So it was definitely a culture shock.
Yes.
Like in every aspect, especially just getting to boot camp, and
You spoke English?
I spoke English.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Here's a story behind that.
So I didn't always speak English. When I moved from Chuuk to Guam at the age of 3, I didn't speak English. And for those who don't know, Guam is a territory of the U.S. So
They just opened a base there.
right.
in the last
It's
10 years.
basically the U.S. Everything they have there, the U.S. dollars,
Okay.
the U.S. government, and they have a governor as well. The only difference is we can't vote for the president, but everything else, as far as political aspect, is the same.
Okay. And then that's where you
So
learned English.
I learned English in Guam, went to elementary school, middle school, high school, and then I signed up for the Marines, and then went to boot camp and stayed in for 20 years and retired, and here I am.
So I'm guessing, I don't want to sound like this is, I guess, so I'm guessing third world country, the emphasis on mental health wasn't a thing.
No, I've never heard of that until, I was exposed to it in the military, but I don't remember ever talking about mental health issues or, hearing my parents talking about issues like that. I think it was just, I don't know if it had to do with just being on survival mode, and I think you got, bigger fish to fry than your mental health.
Right. I mean, if like you said, if y'all were hunting for your food, then we ain't thinking about your mental health. Find a tree, cry over there, and come back and start fishing again.
That's it.
Pretty much.
What about you two gentlemen? Because you grew up in the South as well, Pastor James.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I know the South was a little bit different from the North.
Yeah. Mental health, no. I think that, again, you just cut me off if I get too far into this thing. But if we, like, I think, well, number one, you're too prideful to say anything about mental health if you knew you had a situation or a problem. But as far as, in the South, I would dare to say that probably 99% of all guys have always heard, you ain't old enough to have a back, suck it up. You ain't old enough to have a problem. You ain't old enough to have this, or you got to be tougher than that. So all those comments were made growing up. So if you felt like you had something you need to talk about, it's probably something that got swept under the rug by this ego or this prideful statement that these older gentlemen were making into our lives.
Right. And what I found interesting is, I said the South and the North is different. It's different geographically, like, right?
Right.
So, like, the work here is different. When I first got here, my perspective has changed. I was stationed in the South before, but when I first got here again, I'm like, okay, there's a grind to the people out here. But then I think about the city, I think about New York, and I think about my parents, and then there was a grind there too. It's just two different grinds. We got trains and buses, right? So where your grind probably was, you was walking a couple miles, so we getting on the trains and buses, right? But it's the same thought process though. My grandfather used to say, I would say, my back hurts. He's like, man, I didn't know I had a back. So I said, what you mean your back hurt? So and those things, you don't think about it, those things do something. Does it build some type of toughness and resilience? Yeah, depending. I mean, because what if my back really hurt and I needed medical attention? Because my back hurts now.
Right.
So,
More than ever.
So it's just like, I see where the thought comes from, but I see where we could have been taught differently. If you were teaching us toughness, resilience, it could have been delivered. The
Right.
delivery was different.
Well, you know,
Could have been different.
yeah. Even if you see some of your older guys today, and you talk to them, they could be hurting, and still you can see that, and they try to be resistant in what they say,
Mm-hmm.
because what they're saying and what they're looking is
Mhm.
not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're still trying to live to that facade of, I'm not hurting, I'm not this, I'm not that. But in reality, they are.
Right.
They're broken.
Right.
They're messed up. They're
Mhm.
hurting.
Did Brother Scott? Did you have you grew up with your mom and dad, right?
Right.
Was there ever a point where you see your dad, discuss his mental health, or
Never.
just keep pushing?
Never. He never. Nah. No affection. No mental health. Just the only thing I knew about mental health, there was an older man that everybody in town said was crazy. He would walk around town or ride his bike everywhere he went and talk to signs, and had a dog that really didn't exist, and everybody just said he was crazy. So growing up, that was the only mental health I knew. But to touch on something Brother Jamie said, he was talking about, in my opinion, a man's too prideful to tell anybody he's got mental issues. You know, we were brought up like that. Oh boy, get up, you're tough, shake it off, all that stuff. You're brought up to be tough and nothing bothers you. But I think a man's pride will keep him from displaying mental health issues, or even admitting he's got mental health issues a lot of the time in our generation, the way we were raised.
Mm-hmm. So how did y'all, this question for the group, so I think what I don't understand, right? Me and my father, we have a difficult relationship. My stepdad, we've worked on our relationship, so it's a little bit different. But what I don't understand for parents in general is, when it comes to mental health, why do you got kids, you're raising these little people, and there's nothing that snaps and be like, I have to change the way I do business because it may not be healthy for my kids. Did y'all ever have a moment like that? And how did that moment look?
The only moment I had like that was it was after I was divorced and my son was living with me. But it was only until we got in church and got fully involved in church that I realized that I needed to make some changes in my lifestyle and the way I was raising them. Because
Yes, sir.
it's like Brother Jamie said earlier when he was talking, the household you present, what's to keep them from thinking that's the right way to live, even if you're living wrong. I mean, in your younger kids' eyes, when they're growing up, just like we watched our parents, what's wrong or what's right in that situation, they don't. I mean, we didn't know when we were younger, and you growing up, and you have your own children.
Right.
What's to say what's right or wrong in their eyes that you're doing? So it wasn't until I got in touch and God got involved in my life and got involved in church before I started realizing, look, you need to do this different, you need to do that different.
Right.
And,
Right.
You got two little kids watching you. Be a role model for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the turning point for me was just making a comment to my kids, because I'm hard on my kids, and making a comment of, whenever I see other kids, like if they were like in my household, they wouldn't survive.
Yeah.
And that was kind
I
of
thought
like
that was just me. I thought that was just me.
I knew that was coming.
I thought that was just me.
And so I took those comments and I kind of analyzed it a little bit. It's
Right.
Like, if I can make those comments, then maybe I'm not parenting the way I should be.
Yeah.
So I kind of changed up the way I parented, and then just having that communication with my wife about it. And
my daughter had a friend. I'm not gonna say which daughter. She had a friend in California. This is gonna give it away, but whatever. She this little girl came over, and it was like, you know, you little hints of people are different,
Yeah.
you know. But she came over, and I remember I cooked dinner. You know, I love cooking, so I love cooking for people. And you know, it's more of me than a her thing. I understand that now, but like I get excited when people come over and I've cooked because I want to see the kids are always gonna say, "Oh, this is good." My stepdaughter's, "Oh, this is good. You best chicken in the world." You know, can I have seconds? No, but not.
No.
But you know, the kids is always gonna boost me up, and my wife is always gonna boost me up because they eat it. But then when somebody come over and they eat the food, I'm excited. So she came over and she asked for a plate and she didn't touch it at all. Right. So I already had my reservations about the
Oh,
girl. So I was like, I think I made a couple comments to my wife, but it was also, you know, the interactions with her parents. Those things are big to me as well. Like they would just drop her off and just fly, and I'm just like, you're not gonna see who you dropping her off with, you know. So, and I was more of a drinker at the time. So one time she got dropped off and I had liquor in my hand. If the shoe was on the other foot, I'm like, y'all having a gathering, or you know, I invited I think it was her stepdad that dropped. I invited him to stay, but he said he was going to go get a workout in. So, but I say that to say, you know, she came over, you know, a couple times, and you know, I used to hear the FaceTime calls, and you know, I just thought the relationship wasn't good for my daughter, right? And I used to be like, I tell my wife, like, you know, if that was my daughter, she wouldn't be acting like that. But I kind of had to check those things, like you said, change those comments up, and then I definitely had to watch where I was making those comments because I didn't want to kind of build judgmental children. I want to build children that are going to bring change, right? And be accepting of the people around them. So I may not have everybody as my friend. Everybody may not be my best friend, but this may be a person that God has placed me in their path to change their lives. So I've always been even before I got closer with God, I've always been in the business of wanting to change people's lives and make it for the better. So I think God just put me on the path that I was supposed to be on and made my purpose stronger. But I've always been on the personal growth. And if I was on that, you know, if I was on the personal growth tip, but I wasn't teaching my kids to kind of pull back your judgment and biases and help them, and, you know, so because what we do to our kids is going to impact one or two other people in some type of way. Our kids are going to grow up and meet other people. And I tell, you know, I tell my kids their stepdad, and then my stepdaughters their dad. I'm between us, 3 gentlemen, we have 8 children between us. My kids come with me. They go back to their mom's house. They got a stepbrother. They got a sibling. My stepdaughters go back to their dad's house. They got 2 siblings there. All these kids are intertwined in what we teach. You know, so they're learning things. They're bringing back things. So what we teach and us being on the same accord is very important. I know I went down a rabbit hole, but those things. It's kind of sparked in my mind. But we were talking about mental health.
Well, I think too, Bro Shim, we forget sometimes. I have 2 daughters, and they're as different as night and day. And
yes, they are.
There's some things in them I see I dislike, and a lot of times I dislike it. It's what I see that they have from me.
Yes.
And so when you talk about when you do something and you say, man, I got to make a change, sometimes that change don't come soon enough because we don't have people to bounce things off of. We have been raised the way we've been raised, and so I'd be scared to come ask Brother Lance, hey man, I got this problem. Or Brother Lance scared to come ask me, hey, Pastor Jay, I got a problem right here. Can you tell me what you think? Your daughters are older than mine, or however the scheme of things work. But the thing about it is, the youngest one has always been hard-headed. I always blame it on her mom, but it's really like me. And so when you sit there and you see that resistance and that rebelliousness in that kid, and you say, well, if you handle it the way you are, you serve it with the same thing it's given.
Right.
That's not the way to deal with
Not
it.
teaching
And
nothing.
so now, as I see her as a young adult, I look at her and, you know, just talk to me. Just tell me. I didn't do this early enough, but if you'll sit down and talk to me, I can help you better if you'll talk to me instead of just getting aggravated and not talk to me.
Right.
And so those are the things you got to work on. Those are the things you got to recognize as a parent. And hopefully we have an older generation of men that are willing to help the younger generation of men, and that the younger generation of men are not so prideful that they can't ask the older generation to help them overcome some obstacles in their life so they don't have to face the same difficulties.
Yes, sir.
And when you can do that, you can really develop some little people into some great people. And that's what we got to try to do.
That takes, I think that takes a introspective work, amount of work, and I think that a lot of people won't do. You spoke about like being able to lean on each other.
Yeah.
We said iron sharpen iron. It is important for men, just people in general, but it's important for men to have a community of another man that's going to hold them accountable, that's going to guide them and be there as their brother. Yeah, I could laugh and cry with you, each and every one of you, but if I came to you for advice, I believe that I would be held accountable.
Right.
You know, my thought process needs to be held accountable too. My brother, me and my brother, when we call each other and we call each other with a problem, we always look at no matter how stubborn one of us may be, right? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that right now, right? Sometimes I used to call him, and if I went through with my wife, and he'd be like, well, you gotta do this, that, and the third. She spoke about this, and you done this, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do that right now, bro. Like, that's not. He's like, all right, just vent then. Just vent. And then after I vent and I get it all out, he goes back to the same thing. I'm like, all right, bro. I'm gonna go fix it. You know what I'm saying? But like,
right.
So, but it's important to have the community, have people around you that have done that work internally.
Yes.
Because, like you said, in order for you to kind of, impact Brayley on that tip, when you see those things that mirror who you are.
Yeah.
Then you got to change it within you.
That's right.
My oldest daughter, I asked her to walk the dog last night. So I was like, can you take the dog out? And she looked at me and she goes, she starts getting up. I was like, you don't want to do it, huh? She was like, no, I don't. I was like, I said something. She was like, I didn't say I wasn't going to do it. I just said I don't want to do it.
Right.
She's 13. I was like, oh man, I gotta get through to her. I gotta find a way. But I think you brought up the valid point. But our work that we do on ourselves, it impacts our children.
That's right.
You was about to say something.
Okay.
Yeah, just to interact on what he was saying, about a group of men that we can rely on. Find you a group of men that'll tell you the truth and not what you want to hear either.
Yes, sir.
Because if he's just gonna come in there and agree with everything you're saying and stroke your ego, you ain't getting anywhere with that. But when somebody will sit down and face you and tell you the truth, even if it hurts your feelings or y'all have a falling out and y'all make up later.
Yep.
You need to find friends and people you can lean on like that.
Yes, sir.
Same way in church, man. In our church, you find you somebody you're confident in that'll tell you the truth and base it on the Bible and back it up with the Bible and the scripture. Don't come in here just telling you, yeah, man, just to stroke your ego and make you feel better about what's going on.
Yep.
And I remember an incident. We were talking about how we were raised. When I was raising my children when they were young, I remember trying to imitate how my parents raised me. And just because your parents raised you doesn't mean it was the right way. I mean, even their way wasn't the right way, even though they claimed it was.
We got like 1,000 videos of me saying,
hey, listen,
you got to question everything.
Yeah.
Your parents already messed you up. Don't mess your children up.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's just like this stuff about a lot of stuff we talk about, this tradition in the church. There's nothing in the Bible that backs it up, just like a hat in church. I mean, people get upset. Would you rather that person be in here and getting closer to the Lord with a hat on, or just not even knowing the Lord with a hat off?
Right.
So tradition and raising your kids isn't right either. So just
Well, and I will say this because I know a lot of people they'll
That's
hear
Jamie
that.
like, take your hats off.
Yeah, they're gonna hear the statement Brother
Yeah.
Scott just
Yeah,
made. They're gonna
bro.
go, "Oh, I can't. What's
Yeah.
wrong with him?"
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. You can always change somebody if you can love them,
That's right.
and if you love somebody, they can do some things that you can overlook, but you got to get to where they trust you to talk to. And once you start loving on people, you can always direct people.
Yes, sir.
And that ain't something that just a preacher came up with. That's the way Jesus done it.
Amen.
And as you look at the way Jesus done things, he always went to where they were: sinner, foe, friend, enemy, whatever. And so it's important that you love people into this thing. That's how Jesus done it for us.
Yes,
He
sir.
loved us. Hey, when you were ratchet, you wasn't worth loving. You were broke out there just living your own life, and Jesus still loved you.
Yes, sir.
And so he loved you right back into a right relationship with him.
Amen.
And so that's what we got to do with these young people today is we just got to really get past all these things that we think's right and really get in the Word of God and find out
Yes,
what's
sir.
right and just really just be the example to them. Just love them.
Yep.
Love them.
And they need patience.
Exactly.
They need patience,
Yeah.
and they need love. And my brother used to say, you know, you had said something earlier, you know, when you attack them with the same thing,
Exactly.
how you going to change them. And so he used to say, when we used to run into people, and I was very like irate. I would have arguments. I would want to fight, right? And if this person did something that's wrong, right, and they're out there, they want to fight and get angry as well, why would you meet them with that same energy? If you meet them with that same energy, you are telling them that it is okay to be
Right.
that way.
Right.
But he was like, sometimes people just need to be met with love.
That's
That's
exactly
it.
right.
They just need to be met with love. And when I didn't embrace it when he first said it, we have these conversations since he was 13, 14 years old. But as I get older and I you know, I speak to God and I'm on this journey, it becomes louder in my mind. Like I told you
Right.
about the other day when I had the road rage incident, when I almost hit the guy on the bike. I knew I was wrong,
Right.
you know, and I was rolling down my window to attest to that, to say I'm sorry. But he just thought I was meeting him with the energy he met me with.
Right.
So his energy got bigger. And you see how those situations, there's a lot of situations, you see where someone's 15-second decision takes a life and throws away their whole life.
Right.
Because it wasn't met with love.
That's
So
right.
I agree with that. I agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
And I think where I wanted to take the next topic to was, because we were going through mental health and changing, and we talked about being fathers and how us changing can help our children. But I think in order to be a good dad, and part of being a good dad and being a great man is being a great spouse. So what's y'all's journey with being a great spouse? I was raised in an environment. There was one point in my life I think I was 23, 24, and I was with my ex-wife at the time, and we were going through it, and we would go back and forth. We'd get separated, we'll move to different places, and back and forth. And I told myself, I said, I never said this out loud publicly. I told myself, I said, I guess I'm gonna just be married, but I'm gonna have my things on the side for the rest of my life, because this is the process. This is what is going on. So I went from that to, you know, to being who I am now, and it's, I saw how that attitude also took me away from my children.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
I also, it took me away from my children. It took my influence away from the home. It put my mind elsewhere.
Right.
So I just wanted, you know, what was y'all's journey with that?
I'll cut into this one first, Brother Lee. You know, yeah, that's a good one. So let's take that. I got to be careful with this one. So when you get married, I think a lot of the problem is that we know everything that we don't need to know about relationships. We know nothing about love. We know nothing about companionship. We know nothing about taking care of, meeting their needs. As a man, I would dare to say most of us think a lot. We just want our needs met, and when we get our needs met, we're good, and then we can go do what else in the journey we want to do. And so that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for that compatibility. We're going by what looks good, not what we need, not what we
Right.
you know. There's no process beyond that, no thought process. And I think so over a period of time, and I've been married since 1995 to the same woman, you know. So
Amen.
we've had our ups and downs. I think you have to learn to grow together, and I think this comes again with not having the right men in your life to help you, to teach you, to guide you, and direct you. Because I know more probably when I turned 50 about treating my wife than I ever knew in my entire existence with her. So the thing I think happens is that, number one, we're so motivated on what we want to do. We're geared to what we want to do, that we don't care what we tear down in the process of getting what we want. And I think it is the absence of God, because only to have a relationship with the author of all relationships is the thing that helps you understand how to love people. When you take that thing and you incorporate prayer and talking to God and asking God to teach you and show you, and asking God to send somebody your way to help you, then God begins to break some of those areas down in your life, that it's not so much about you.
Right.
And I think that once we as men can get beyond us, and it's not all about us anymore,
Right.
then I think we can become the greatest of anything in the world we want to be, because then our own selfish desires don't get in the way and cause stumbling blocks for us, whether it be our wives, whether it be our children,
Right.
whether it be any other thing. You can focus on the task at hand and you can accomplish it, because there's so many times that we really do. Your mind is elsewhere. It doesn't matter. When things affect you and things come in your life that shouldn't be in your life, your mind's over here on that thing, and you can't focus on your wife, nor can you focus on your family, and that's the hardest thing to get Christians to understand. When sin comes into the picture, it sidetracks you from the focus you need to be on.
Yes, sir.
And so when you sit there and tell people, make sure you keep your eyes on Jesus, make sure you keep your eyes on Jesus, and they got their eyes on Sally, Sue, and or she's got her eyes on Frank, John, and it causes those thought patterns to go elsewhere, and you can't keep your focus on God. Which brings me to another point, if you don't mind me just hitting this real quick, because this is what you got to have. The establishment and the foundation of what you got to have as a man, it is built on Christ Jesus and Christ alone. Anything else you stand on is going to fall apart. And so once I went, like 2 Corinthians, I think it's chapter 10, maybe around verse 5, it says something like, cast down every imagination that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. And so anything that comes in my mind that tries to take the place of God, I've got to cast that thing down. I've got to learn how to deal with it. And if you read the second part of that verse, it talks about being, when you overcome it and when you conquer it, in the obedience of Christ Jesus. So I've got to take it to be obedient like Christ. Did he ever forsake the Father? Never. So I've got to take it with that same obedience. And when that comes in my mind, I've got to cast it down. Because if I don't cast it down, it's going to make my foundation unstable. And what causes most problems in relationship is some imagination has come in somebody's mind, and it's caused them to be unstable, and their foundation becomes loose, and they lose their footing on what they know to stand on. And so I think in a lot of things, it's the absence of prayer, the absence of a church family, the absence of men gathering around you. And if I know we're just talking about men, but women need the same thing. Women need godly women to tell them something. And we don't need, I remember my granddad saying this to me. My granddad would always tell me, he said, you always let them girls get in the way of our fishing trip. And then he'd turn around and he'd see a girl uptown and say, oh, if I was you, I'd try to get with that. You follow what I'm saying? So, man, so you hear all these loose foundational stuff that's poured into your life all your life long. And then when you talk about salvation or Jesus coming down to redeem you as his child, all of that's got to be uprooted and snatched out of you.
Yes, sir.
And it takes time
Mm-hmm.
to pull and extract that stuff out of people.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to be willing. We got to tell these guys, listen, you're going to chase something, you're going to chase the rest of your life that's going to destroy your life if you don't get focused. And it's going to cause you some problems up here that you ain't ready. You tell me a guy you know, everybody can name one. We can name a guy because of things that he puts in his life that he knows he don't need. He's having trouble with it. She is putting things in her life, and it's nothing but caused her trouble the entire time. And it's the same thing repeating itself over and over and over again.
Yep.
And so I think if we just clean some of that mess up, understand we got to get that trouble out of our life and that thing that is shifting our foundation,
Yes, sir.
so we can't stand solid, then we can get on the right path and acknowledge what we need to deal with.
Yes, sir. Amen. We got a third host. Pastor Jamie coming back.
Sorry.
Man, I went from gonna make a joke about him trying to duck down when he first started. Like when he's preaching to us, we try to get behind the chairs. When he's standing on us pretty strong, he was trying to duck down over here. Now I'm trying to duck down. He's getting closer to me, so I'm leaning over here towards you.
But yeah, I think and
we want to see people go that direction.
Oh, yeah.
We got to have a desire to see people
you gotta
not live it like you said earlier, Brother Jim. We don't want our kids to go through the same mess and junk that we went
right.
Amen.
Right. So you
That's
gotta
right.
have structure. And we pick up these things like you said. What your grandpa used to say. I remember going to my grandfather's, my great uncle's house, and my grandfather's brother, and he had 2 beds, and I was about 12, and he had 2 beds. He had his own little studio apartment, small apartment in New York. It was just basically a bedroom and a kitchen and a bathroom. It's a studio apartment. So his bedroom is essentially his living room. So he has a little table set up there. He had his smoke, his little roll up there, and he had 2 beds. So we sat there. We ate some White Castle. And I asked my grandfather when he left. I said, Dad, I call my grandfather Dad. I said, Dad, why Uncle Richard got 2 beds? God rest both of their souls. He was like, he go out there, he get a lady, he do what he do with her, and throw on the other side. I was like, Uncle Richard still getting. I was like, that's it. And now you fast forward, I'm probably 17, 18. Probably 17, 18. I'm with my mom and my stepdad, and we walking through a neighborhood. I think I'm with my brother too. Walking through a random neighborhood, not too far from where Uncle Richard lived. And we're going back home, and see Uncle Richard. It's late night. It's probably about 9:30, and we're like, Uncle Richard, what's going on? He's like, hey. You see my mom, that's his niece, so he gives Charles a lot. Yeah, what's going on, y'all? Uncle Richard, what you doing out here? I'm just trying to get me one of these young girls out here.
Oh my goodness.
But this is the thought process you grow up around, right?
Yeah.
And God rest his soul, he's a great man. Great man to be around, funny guy. We did a lot of fishing, but this was the thought process.
Yeah.
And this is what you kind of gather, and then next thing you know, you're an adult, and it's like, okay, what's my morals and ethics? What's my principles going to be like? So, and it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to break those.
It really is.
So I would ask Lance, like, what was it like? Where was coming from? What you say? What's your island?
Chuuk, Guam.
Chuuk and Guam, and then coming to the States, was it different? Were the men more structured over there as far as like relationship goes, or what was it?
No, it was totally different. I don't think, there were some good, men role models, but not the ones that I grew up around. And so I kind of had to learn on my own, and a lot of the morals mainly came from, my dad and my mom, and the relationship that they had. I mean, they've been married for forever. They're still married. Probably close to 50 years now.
Wow.
They've been married. Maybe more than that. And so that was the example that I got as far as marriage.
Yes, sir.
And everything else, I mean,
Right.
whatever
Wait,
you
wait,
call
wait,
it.
wait, I
Whatever you
second
call
that.
it.
So I think it's I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I think it's important. Well, everything we said is important. What I was gonna say is now we all have daughters, right? I don't know if I'm not asking y'all to expose if y'all ever, y'all was a player.
Yeah.
But my daughter's 13, like I said. My oldest one is 13. She's already asked me questions. Like, what were you doing? Especially when it comes to her mom. So what is it? I guess what I'm trying to ask is if y'all had to have those conversations, or if you didn't, or if you know somebody did. What's your experience with being a dad and possibly not having full respect for woman or your woman, but then having a daughter?
Yeah.
Or daughters.
Well, you want me to start this again? Okay, so like number one is I the things that I'm sure this is a unique panel you have sitting right here today, but on Saturday but the thing is, I'm sure that we've all crossed the line in things we should not have done growing up. Some of us probably more than others. And I don't know how the Lord chose me to be a preacher through all the stuff I've done.
Right.
And it doesn't make me perfect, but I'm proud of what I went through and not what I've done, but I'm proud of how I lived to understand it.
Right.
And so when I tell my daughters that if I see me show up on the porch, I'm killing him right then. If I see you, because I don't want that for you. I don't want that. And what I really mean by that is the guy that I've watched on this journey forever, which is me. I watched him have anger issues.
Yes, sir.
I watched him have pride issues. I've watched him feel not enough. I've seen him try to overcompensate, seen him try to do all these things, laugh through things that were breaking him, try to make fun of things and cut up with things that were destroying him on the inside. I've seen the same guy lay in the bed and cry at night and get up the next morning and put that mask on and make it through the journey. So he didn't ask to get there like that. He just didn't know how to get there any other way. And so the road that God brought him off on and showed him how to be delivered from that stuff, you want your daughter to understand this. You want your child to understand this. So there's no good way to have that conversation with your daughter, but if they ask the question, just be real, because I want you to know, this is the thing I tell my daughters: you bring her back like you had her when you picked her up, and don't give yourself to somebody that don't respect you. And when I mean that, I'm not talking about a sexual advancement. I'm talking about your heart. Make sure that, because I see so many people that are dating today, and they just desire, they wanting somebody. That's all they want. They want that companionship. Wait on it to come, because when that guy shows up for you, he's gonna love you for you. And then if he won't change things for you, he don't love you.
And that's why it's important for them to, for the parents and the community to help foster and breed self-love.
Right, exactly.
Because if you missing, when you feel you're missing things, is when you go into those relationships and you drop. There's people that are taught some great things about relationships, that have parents with great conversations, and they still get into abusive relationships.
Right,
they still,
exactly.
because they drop that guard,
Right.
they drop those boundaries,
Exactly.
because you end up missing something. So it's definitely.
And one other thing I'll say to this, because all of us have daughters, all of us, and but Lance has got 4. How many you got?
3.
3. Brother Scott's got one. I have two. Those daughters, every one of them that I see, when your daughters that not just the ones that live with you, but the ones that come and visit you from time to time, or during the summer. I try to tell those girls every time I see them that they're beautiful. And the reason I do that, I made that a purpose as a youth pastor, is not because I want them to think I'm something, because I'm nothing. I'm just an old, washed up old man. But what they are, they need to know that they're beautiful, and they hear that, and that they know that without anybody desiring or wanting them.
Right.
And because they need to know, well, I'm beautiful, I can just walk in this. And if somebody else tells them, then they already have that confidence built up in them. They didn't need that silver tongue talking joker to tell them that.
Sir.
And another thing is, you want, as on a personal level, my daughters, I want them to understand I want nothing for you except for you to have the best of everything.
Yes.
And that's what I want you to see somebody else give you. So if somebody can pick up the reins off of that and go with it, do I wish I could go back and start over with my wife and do the right things every time and skip all the mistakes? I would love to be able to do that. And but you know, there's a true statement that I believe that things do get better with time.
Yes, sir.
And if you can weather the storm in things, and you can, you know, I'm not telling you that it's going to be perfect, but I'm telling you that you'll love what it turns into, and you'll enjoy it, because sticking through the thick and thin of things, really what makes a relationship become a beautiful thing over a period of time.
Yes, sir. Y'all come to the Vine Church.
Amen.
There's more. Y'all come to the Vine Church.
Plenty to come.
But I will say that I grew up in an environment, right, and I got told I was black and ugly. I was a dirty sponge. That's what I got. I got, these are all types of names. And for a while, I accepted the nickname of Midnight. I even had an email, midnight at AOL.com. So don't email. But this was it went from name calling. They used to call me when I used to go to my grandmother's block. The dudes over there used to call me Men in Black.
Men in Black.
Because I was black, because I'm dark skinned, right?
Yeah.
You know, I got called all those names, and it went from that to me accepting a name. I got called Midnight for all my teenage years. I think it was from like 13 to 17 when I finally started to reject it. But yeah. So I grew up in that environment, and then when I became a man, I had or at least when I thought I was a man, right? When I became an adult, I had confidence issues, major confidence issues. So my thought process was, and there was a lot of girls. I used to ask a lot of different girls out in middle school and high school, and they all used to say no. I'd join the military, and I would go back home, and all of these girls, when we were adults, they had babies by guys that were as dark as me or darker. So it's like, oh, you did like people of my complexion, but you weren't yourself, right? So I told the story to my brother. I was like, you know, I have to get payback. And he said, what? I said, I have to get payback from all of them. So there was a lot of girls from like middle school and high school that I ended up coming in contact with as a grown man. And I just, whatever I could get, whatever I could, you know, and that was, I had to get payback. I had to, and this was filling. I got a song called Trauma. It's very vulgar, but it talks about a little bit, it hits my mindset about why I was the way I was and how it was helping me. I thought it was helping me respect myself. So I think you, and I say that, I tell that story to talk about how you speak to the girls, our daughters and everything, and tell them they're beautiful. My brother does the same thing. When they come and they paint a picture or they do something with art, we you know what I'm saying? We clap it up. We have family meetings every Sunday after church, we might go out to eat, and then we'll take the kids home and we'll have a meeting. And we'll talk about our week, and we'll set words of the week for the next couple weeks, and we'll talk about goals for the next week. And after each one of the kids talk, we clap it up. We clap it up and let them know that communication is fine, even
Love
if they're
that.
having a bad Sunday. Even sometimes they have a Sunday where they don't want to talk. We'll still clap it up. So I think those periods of encouragement is very important,
Yeah.
not just from dad, from mom, from the community, right? Because that confidence leads to your imagination, and if your imagination is broken, your faith is broken.
Right.
When I fixed my confidence, my imagination became stronger. It came back, and then my faith. I feel like it appeared out of
Right.
nowhere, but it
Right.
came, and I'm at where I'm supposed to be right now, with the understanding that I'm gonna keep moving somewhere else, right? So I think we touched on some great information here, and I want, usually in the podcast, Saturday podcast, when we close out, I'll usually just have one guest. It's our first time doing a panel, but we usually have those guests kind of give a sense of advice. I know Saturday Who is about growth. It is Saturday today, so it's about growth. It's about getting up. You may have a 9 to 5, you may have a career, but it's about getting up and pursuing your dreams, taking that extra hour to have that conversation with your kid or your spouse. It's about impacting your life on a different scale. So I would just ask each and every one of you to go through and take a minute or two to just give a word of motivation to the Saturday Who fans, moving forward. So, Lance, you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. I think for me, my advice would be just working on yourself, doing the things that's going to make you be a better person, whether that's through spiritual, mental, and I would also say physical. Exercise is also an important part
Yeah.
of your mental health. And yeah.
Sure.
That's it.
Thank you.
Best advice I got is probably just what we've done this morning. Come together and lean on each other and talk about problems and talk about what's going on in your life. Mainly, get the trash out of your life. Put God first. The more you give to God, the more you gain.
Amen.
All right. Yeah, I'd like to give you about 25, but I'm gonna give you one because I think this is an area where most guys struggle the most, probably mental health. Anger is a destroyer of a man. Do not let your anger drive you. Work on that. And there's some ways that you can work on that. Work on it by learning how to communicate, like Brother Jimmy was saying earlier. Don't give that same energy back. Learn to sit down, calm down. If you feel that rage come in you, don't act on it. Start sitting that down, because that rage will cause you to lose in life. It is a number one. It affects your whole body when you get angry. And just learn how to cope with that anger, or to deal with it. Learn how to talk. Learn that if you're around somebody, you see them anger. The Bible tells us that a kind word destroys the anger, or it causes the anger to kindle down. And so learn how to give kind words. Learn, because things don't go your way. Don't let that rage just come over you. Don't try to speak words and keep building yourself up in your anger. All of us men know what I'm saying when I say that. We just get, the more angry we get, the more we say, and the more cease from doing that. One of the best ways I know to do that is, one of the things that helped me take the edge off things is like Brother Lance said, is working out. Going to the gym helps me with my stress level. Another thing that really helps, when you go to the Lord in prayer and you shut that door and you understand that the Bible tells you, or God says this in the Word, cast all your cares on me because I care for you. Throw those cares. What are you fighting with? What are you dealing with? What are you angry about? What is your pet peeve? Cast all that garbage on God and let Him help you work that out. And then find you a good church family. Find you a good,
Amen.
Holy Spirit filled, Holy Ghost filled church,
Come
and
to the
get
vine.
in that church and let those men love you and help you through every aspect of life, because it can happen. And that would be my thing. But guys, I'm telling you, we all know what anger is like.
Yeah.
It's the cause of revenge, to seek satisfaction, to prove a point, to lift the ego, to all these things. And so, if I could just say something, rid yourself of that anger, because it's taking you nowhere except
right.
down.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. We appreciate y'all for tuning in again. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, share. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. God bless y'all. And just keep doing what you're doing. Keep going. Keep grinding.
That's right.